Welcome to Hometown Happenings. I'm Carol McCarthy here at the chapel at Oak Crossing with the chaplains Lanny Sweeney and Tim Cook, and we are going to talk about National Healthcare Decision Day, which is April 16th this year, as it is every year. And we're going to talk about what healthcare directives are and more today, and how we're going to help you, walk you through it a little bit, maybe verse you on some of the things about living wills and such. So first off, I want to talk to Chaplain Tim Cook. What is a healthcare directive?
Well, a healthcare directive is a opportunity for people to put down in writing what they would want for end-of-life care. It's probably the best tool that we have to ensure that somebody's wishes will be followed at the end of life. And so healthcare directive sometimes goes by the name of living will or advanced directive, but it's a tool. And it's the best tool, like I said, that we have to assure that somebody has their wishes met at the end of life.
All right. And Lanny Sweeney, why is a healthcare directive important?
For one thing, you will name a healthcare agent, and the healthcare agent is required to follow your wishes during certain dire situations or at the end of life. Your healthcare agent has the power to do for you what you could do if you could make or speak your decisions, and will follow your wishes. It's especially important as we get older, and then our mentality begins to slowly change. If this is talked with earlier in life, your healthcare agent will follow your wishes.
Okay. And is this something that can transfer with you? You know, if you should change, say, locations, cities, and do you have to do one every time you move, or how does that work?
We encourage people to make a healthcare directive out in the state of their residence, and then it will follow throughout the United States. If you do move to another state, I encourage you to make sure that the healthcare directive that you have follows the laws of the state that you move to. The states are slightly different in their laws, and you want to make out a healthcare directive that follows the laws in your state.
All right. And is this a legal document then? Or?
Yes, it is. It is a legal document, and oftentimes they're notarized. It's binding in court. And it's a very excellent document, and so, yes, okay. It is a legal document.
All right. I'm here today at the chapel at Oak Crossing with the chaplains Tim Cook and Lanny Sweeney. We're talking about healthcare directives, what they are, maybe how you go about filling one out, why is it important, and we're going to take a break and be back with more after this. Welcome back to Hometown Happenings. I'm Carol McCarthy here today at Oak Crossing Chapel with the chaplains Lanny Sweeney and Tim Cook. We're talking about healthcare directives. It's Healthcare Decision Day coming up on April 16th. And, you know, if you want to find out more about what we're talking about, there's an actual website, www.healthcaredecisionsday.org. So we'll give you that again at the end of our show here. But Chaplain Cook, talk a little bit about how this came about.
Oh, thank you, Carol. Yeah, that's an interesting question. The healthcare directive has a long history. It was actually born out of the Patient Self-Determination Act of 1990 that required that every medical facility that received federal funding would give information on living wills to the people that come there. And but its history goes back into the 1970s. There were a lot of people involved, but there were two tragedies specifically that kind of precipitated the birth of the healthcare directive. One was Karen Ann Quinlan, who was a young woman who was in a persistent vegetative state for a number of years, and her family went to court, all the way to the Supreme Court, to be able to take her off of the life support system after she was brain dead. And out of that situation came the fact that the ruling was that people are able to name agents and proxies to make healthcare decisions for them, you know, when they become incapacitated, or are unable to make their own decisions. And then the other ruling was that people also have the right to refuse treatment. So that was a very important ruling that came out of the Quinlan case. And then there was another young woman by the name of Nancy Cruzan, who also was in a persistent vegetative state approximately the same time. And her family also had to go to the Supreme Court to try to get her off of life support. And out of those two situations came the Patient Self-Determination Act of 1990 that gave birth to all the things that we're talking about today. And then there's one other name that's really important. About 6 or 7 years ago, Terry Scheibel was in the news, and her situation really underscores the need to have a health care directive, because if you remember back to that situation, her family was split down the middle. She was in a situation where she was never going to recover, and her husband wanted to take her off of life support, and her parents did not. And so this whole thing was just an extreme tragedy in every way, shape, or form. And it went to the courts, and it was on the news and everything. And how much easier it would have been for everybody involved if Terry Scheibel would have had a health care directive stating what she wanted, because both sides were claiming, to speak for her. And so eventually her husband won in court. But nobody knows what Terry's wishes were, and it would have been so much better if she could have put that down in paper.
So a couple of things that coming out of what you just said is that you really can be any age. I mean, you don't have to wait till you're a senior citizen retirement to do this, and it really is up to you to initiate this.
That's right. We recommend that everybody over the age of 18 do a health care directive.
Lanny, let's talk a little bit about how you go about filling out the forms and where you would get them.
We have a form here at Essentia Health St. Mary's that we use, and it is a very easy form to fill out. And Tim or I would walk through you with it. You would call us here at Essentia Health St. Mary's and set up an appointment, and we would help you fill it out.
And the important thing is the discussion needs to happen before a crisis.
Exactly. We want you to think about what is important for you in certain dire situations or at the end of life. It is not we're saying don't do this or do this. We're saying let's talk about this. Let's see what you really want at this point in time. It takes about 45 minutes on an average to go through this with you and have it filled out and notarized. And we had a couple that came in that I met with at the clinic, and we filled it out and had it notarized in about 45 minutes. And as they left, they said, this is the best deal in town.
Right. All right. So you can stop in here at Oak Crossing or at Essentia and ask for either chaplain, Lanny Sweeney or Tim Cook, and they'll help walk you through the health care directive, the Minnesota health care directive. As Lanny said, there's different health care directives for any, your state of primary residence. So check with that about that as well. But I want to thank you for visiting with me today. And as you do each year, it's getting easier and easier to talk to. Well, it's not an easy thing to talk about, but you make it easy to walk through the healthcare decision and the healthcare directive. And I want to thank Lanny Sweeney and Tim Cook for talking to me today. I'm Carol McCarthy for TV3.